I will call the regular meeting of Irmo Town Council to order, and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this evening. We thank you for this time to come together. Lord, we thank you for the business that we're about to conduct. Give us wisdom, Lord. Help us in that decision. Father, we just ask for your continued prayers over this nation and our soldiers, our military, Lord, and whatever nation they are, South Korea, North Korea, and everywhere else. Lord, give us safe return of our young men and our young women, our sons and our daughters. We thank you. In Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Next item on the agenda is the reading of the minutes from March 19th. Is there a motion for approval as written?
So moved, with one change.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
There's a typo
Yes, there is.
on page 2, second paragraph. His company made a number of...
I corrected that.
Thank you.
Before, but I found that. But I didn't say it.
I understand, Ms. Stanley. All due respect, we know you don't make mistakes.
No, I do.
No.
So it's going to change to what now?
Made.
The company made.
See, y'all think I don't read these things.
Was that?
Yeah.
You're missing something. What now?
The second paragraph, that his company made a number of errors. See, they've got mad. On the second page, the second paragraph.
Mine says M-A-D-E.
Because I printed your copy after.
Okay, my copy has MAD.
Okay. I was lost.
That was, you got that?
I got the revised already. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, it probably is on your iPad.
It is, it's on my iPad.
That instead of me.
Well, thank you, Madam Clerk.
So all in favor of approval with the correction, do so with show of hands. And next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, is there anything you'd like to add to the briefing? Or?
Just two things, Mr. Mayor. I handed everybody a spreadsheet from the Clearwater Company, and it shows the schedule for the park project, so we can keep track of it.
Sure you want to get us some?
Yeah.
So these gray areas are when they start and finish, so to
Yes.
speak?
The way I'm looking at this, it says by 7/29 they're going to be done.
No. 8? No. Something's got to dry or something.
Hey, I'm just, look at it. It says 7/29.
It's got to dry.
That's why I asked you, sure you want to get us some?
And that's probably right.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he had taken the project, he said, unless they have some real serious weather that, befalls in between now and, June timeframe, about a 120-day project. They've got a lot of fluff built in there with 180 days for the gable. And that's for weather delays and things like that. So, good weather, they'll be done in no time.
What is the legend for all of them?
I will get it for you.
Okay.
So you know what all those abbreviations are. I'll provide that later. Also, we have our spring cleanup next Saturday, the 13th. Not this Saturday, but the following week. And that'll be from 9 to 12 here in Irmo. Volunteers will be gathering here in the town hall parking lot in the morning. So if you want to come out and help clean up, you're more than welcome to do so.
Any questions for Mr. Brown? Next item on the agenda is receipt of communication.
Yeah, legends.
And am I missing? Wouldn't Tiffany?
Yep.
Is she here?
She hasn't made it yet.
Oh, good.
Maybe it's trying to wrap up some things on the change.
What we can do, if someone would make a motion, we take stuff out of order and we'll just skip that until she gets here.
I'll make a motion that we take item 6, receipt of communication, subsection A, out of order to allow for her arrival.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Next item on the agenda is presentation by citizens for agenda items only, and this is the time where anyone wants to speak to Irmo Town Council about anything on the agenda. All we ask is that you give us the name and address for the record, and then the item that you would like to address, item number, whatever. To anyone who would like to address the council.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for Police Council. George Glassmer, 100 Denbeck Road. I don't have the benefit of having an agenda in front of me, but I remember the items I want to speak to, so I'm not able to give you the item letter or number. My first concern is the item on the agenda that's proposed to spend $30,000 of our tax money on item B. That'd be item B under new business. $30,000 of our tax money for a grand opening celebration of the park. I think that's just unbelievable. And first of all, I'm at a loss to understand how council could spend that much money short of getting Bill Cosby to be the master of ceremonies. But I certainly don't want it spent on that. I think just a banner will be sufficient, which could be done for a lot less money. If you're hell-bent to spend $30,000 of my tax money, I would suggest you spend it elsewhere. A good place would be to give merit raises and bonuses to our employees. I'd much rather see you spend it on that than what I would perceive as a waste of money on a grand opening celebration. The other item that I'm concerned about is the proposal that council members get a raise. While I don't suggest for a moment that you people do this for nothing, I think my concern is that if you're in this job for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason. And I would be opposed to that also. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the council? Seeing none, we will go to the Tiffany Committee. We will go to the next item on the agenda, unfinished business. The approval of the policy and procedures for the Irmo Community Market. And is there a motion for approval? Do we need to approve on that, or do we just?
Well, we'll have to have an approval to put the policy in place, which is what Heather's going to give us tonight. It's her policy that she wants to use.
Well, we'll get a first and second, and we can discuss and let her discuss too. Is that the plan, kind of let her?
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we do approval of the policy and procedures for the Irmo Community Market.
Second.
Mr. Walker, that was actually yours, but.
Okay.
Can I bring these to you?
Yeah.
Make copies.
They're the same items that the documents that I sent you via email, just make copies for you.
Thank you.
I know that I sent this to you yesterday for you to review if you have any questions about it. We're really excited about the opportunity to assist the city with bringing this to the town of Irmo, or the council bring this to the town of Irmo, and I'm open to any questions that you have about it. We would like to get started, if this is approved, and we hope it is, we would like to get started the first part of May. And again, do this the first and third Saturday of every month, and beginning with May and ending at the end of October.
And the only question I had, and I don't know, I know we got the thing that you gave us in there.
Right.
Is this the one that people would be filling out, or the one in here?
It would be
Or
this one.
kind of a
It would be this one. There's
So
just
this one, not this one?
That's correct. There are mostly similarities, but
This is the one we got by email, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you made your presentation last time, I had several issues
Yes.
that I asked be addressed, and I want to thank you for doing that. You addressed them 100%.
Well,
I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you. I talked to individual people at the Department of Agriculture as well as DHEC, and I've made friends with them. I understand the regulations, the ordinances. I understand what is required from each vendor, and it educated me a little more than before. And it was great people at the Department of Agriculture and DHEC. So we know exactly what each vendor is responsible for and what they need to have.
You have one thing on here called a South Carolina business license number. I don't know if there is a such thing as a South Carolina business license.
And it may be South Carolina retail license.
Oh, the retail license.
Yes, sir.
Or sales tax.
Yes, they'll be responsible for collecting their own sales tax and remitting that to Department of Revenue.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The only question I had was the one that Councilman Hoots had brought up last time was about the wedding. If we do this the first and third Saturday, will that go on the schedule and that'll be locked in, and then somebody wants to do a wedding, they'll have to do the second or fourth Saturday?
Or after 12 o'clock.
Or after 12 o'clock, or we'd have to move it to here or something like that if they, I want to say push come to shove. Would that be the alternative? Or just give it to them the first and third and that's done?
That would be my proposal. We're going to do this for 12 visits or whatever, 14,
Yes.
yes, just go ahead and lock it in.
If somebody wants a wedding, they just have to do the second or
Work around.
fourth or fifth or whatever left in that month, or do it after 12. Okay.
There might be somebody booked.
There might be, that's right.
Other than the ones that are already booked.
Yes.
If they already got some booked.
Yes.
Okay.
And this-
Those, they will just move it over here if it's already booked, or not have it, or?
I think we talked the last time I was here that we would move it to the parking lot here. I think as long as we're in the same vicinity where people know and can come every first and third Saturday and know about where it is, we're not adverse to moving it to the parking lot. And everyone's bringing their own tables and tents, so it really doesn't matter where they set up as long as it's in the same. But we would propose to have Carlisle Street closed off down Carlisle Street. I think that's a beautiful street and it's close to the park.
But just the block from this to that, not all the way down to Lake Murray, just this section here or all the way down?
Right, just from here to Lexington, Columbia.
Between Columbia
One
and
block.
And the only other question I had was about the power. If we got power over there where they can run, or there's not?
No power.
Okay, so that would just be available if they move to the park and we would have power.
Correct. New Park will have everything, we'll have power already set up, but we don't have it over here because we only have it set up for the Opus truck. We put the meters out there. Power's not out there right now.
Heaven, do you have can you just walk me through a scenario that's just real simple? Like, what would I do as a vendor and I want to come out and sell peach cobbler on a Saturday morning? What process would I go through?
We have,
Roughly,
sure, a good question. We have set up a committee in anticipation for this, so there's 4 of us, and we each have different roles. We would like to hire a manager through Brown Box Veggies to manage this, and then we have actually 2 people on the committee that will screen the vendors. So when you're interested, you'll contact us via email or phone. You'll receive an application. The application process is you send it in, we'll review it, and make sure that we don't have 5 bakers and 4 ceramic people and 4 people selling peach cobbler on the same day, so that the variety is important to us. Once the application is accepted and they're approved to be in the market, we'll make sure that they have their business license, a copy of their business license, and any insurance policy that they have to have, as well as if they're under the cottage law, we'll need their certificate as well. And, we just set up, they've got the rules and regulations. We'll go over that with them to make sure they understand what the time to come and set up. There's a time for that. We give them about an hour before, an hour and a half if they need more time. And someone from Brown Box Veggies will be here for that. And then afterwards, about an hour to an hour and a half to break down. And someone with Brown Box Veggies will be there as well. So somebody will be here representing our company and controlling the market the entire time. I guess the application fee is $25. We're hoping that the city allows us a fair permit to pay the manager as well as to compensate our manager as well as for advertising. And we're having different things going on that day. We've got 19 commitments. We haven't said yes to any of the applicants yet because we're not that far along, but we've got 19 local vendors that are interested in coming out. We'd like to have 25. I think 25 is a good number. And, we're kind of rolling. The social media is set in place. We're working on Facebook, working on a website. they will apply, once the website is set up, they will make application through the website, and they'll do that, and it'll come directly to us. And I do think it's important that any applications or any vendors that the council wants to see their paperwork, we make that available to you. We'll have all that stored electronically, so we can email that to you if you have a question about someone that's out there and what they're doing. We can easily send that to you. But the reception is great. Actually, I was contacted by a school today to see if their choir could come out on a Saturday and participate, and we're hoping to get the local orchestra to come out at Crossroads. We already have a yoga studio that's going to come out and do yoga in the park for kids, as well as Elite Personal Training, which is right down the road from here. We'll come out and do an outdoor exercise class for the kids and adults during the day. So it's a lot of interaction, not just with the vendors and people purchasing things on twice a month, but it's community interaction as well. And we're doing some nonprofit things. Our Brown Box Veggies is big with donating. If we have extra boxes that are left over at 11:30, they're donated to needy families in our area. And we want to continue that by offering one of the 25 vendors will be a nonprofit. We won't charge them to come, and they'll be on a rotating basis and come and let the community know what they're trying to do, what they're about, who they are. And we have one of the members on our committee that's heading that as well. So it's just community interaction. Hopefully people will stay here, shop down the road, eat lunch, breakfast and lunch, have coffee, buy some things that they need, staple items they need, as well as some gifts, and enjoy the music and get some exercise. Yes?
I forgot to ask you, but have you walked over to Carlisle Street? Will 25 vendors fit over there?
We think so. What we're hoping to do, if this is approved, we'd like to work a little closer with the council members to ask their help in setting out trash cans, as well as helping us designate 10 by 10 areas for the vendors. I don't know if we could tape off the 10 by 10 areas. Each vendor will have a 10 by 10 area. We're hoping the city can help with that.
I'll be glad to meet with you and show you how we do it with the orchestra.
You guys have done this before. It's successful with the orchestra, so we'd love to get your advice and help on that.
Any other questions? So, I guess we're ready to vote. Everybody, all in favor then of the approval of the policy here, the colorful one, not the one we had, but the other one, for the Irmo Communication Market, do so with show of hands. And next item on the agenda.
We'll have a meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
First one, first weekend in May? Heather? First weekend in May, then, we can expect it?
Yes, sir, we'd like to get started the first weekend of May, and I'm available at any time the council's available to meet. I can make my schedule work with whatever works for you guys.
May 4th, okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Do you want to go back to the city communication?
Oh, yes. Tiffany came in, so we'll go back to the city communication, and I will recognize Ms. Boyce, Tiffany Boyce.
Sorry, I was
No, but
My name is Tiffany Boyce. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater Irmo Chamber, and I am here tonight very excited to be able to present you all a check from our first annual Red, White, and Blues event that we did here in the town park about a month ago. It was a great success, because of the town, because of Whit and his guys, and our members. And I am very excited to present you all with a check for $1,000 for the new park for y'all to use where you see fit. And we hope that we'll be able to do this event annually and be able to contribute to our new park annually as well. So I have the real check, Bob. But then I have
Real
this,
check? I thought-
yeah. Then I have this great big check, and I would love if y'all would come down and let me present this to you all.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
Let's get the picture with Tiffany.
Listen, I have this thing printed, just to say, and here's the real check, sir.
That's all you care.
I know. He said, I can't cash this when he was at the,
It won't go through the ATM.
I know. Good. How about that? Come on. Oh, look, I get to be in the middle?
Yes.
All right, you ready?
Hey, I want to hide behind this.
Oh,
Why do you
no.
think
Last
I'm
time I
here?
noticed my,
Try not to
Then it
watch
showed up in the
TV
picture.
camera.
I just stuck it in.
All right, everybody smile. 1, 2. Kathy, you're disappearing behind the wall. There you
Short
go.
person. Don't take advantage of short people.
There we go. 1, 2, 3. And let me get one more just to be sure, because one of y'all close their eyes. I just know you do. Here we go. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Gotcha.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you. I want to keep that very and that's fancy. I'm good. It is fancy. I agree.
You want?
See, now Heather has left early, so she didn't know what to expect, what we'll be expecting.
We want money.
Yeah, I was going to say yes.
Next item is under new business. Item A, approval of a new well in the amount of $14,838 for new park irrigation. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
I just have one question. Do we think they're going to hit water?
No comment.
Okay.
They don't know. I mean, they're going to a
I don't
lower
wanna know,
spot.
but is there a good chance or?
Yeah, there's no way
I
of
know.
knowing.
Now, the first one you have to understand, the first contract that we approved for them for $18,000, they went down 700 feet and only charged us $8,300.
Okay.
So for really $10,000 that we saved on that deal, now we need a new one for 14, and again, it's a gamble.
But I thought there were ways to, not to know where it was, but to have a good idea that you were in the right direction.
I do not know.
Okay.
Any idea, Whit? I mean, it's a guess.
I used to have some
Divining rod.
Divining rods, yes, so forget that.
you just walk around and let them do.
I just thought they had
That's about as good.
some indication of where would be a good spot. Doesn't that make sense to you, Whit?
If you see water coming out of the ground,
That's a good one, yeah.
but other than that,
Now, we're not bypassing oil or anything as we drill, are we?
We strike oil, we've done the right thing.
Kept the hole very quick. Real quick.
and I think you just mentioned that the first one we allocated 18,000, we only used 8, so we
8,300.
kind of have 10 left over. And most of that's for the equipment.
Right.
And most of that would be for
And they're
same as
labor
this.
for going.
And we don't have a total loss there, as I
Yeah,
understand
they
it.
still got water.
We still got water, it's just not the volume that we were looking for. So if in the second well, we get half the volume, and we got half the volume in the first well, we can combine those two. Am I correct?
That's my understanding.
Is that right? Oh, okay.
Yes.
And if we get a low, we may have to build another one and put 3 together. I don't know.
Can you do that, Marty? Are
I'm
you
sure
just
you
saying
can.
that?
I'm sure you can
No.
put them all together, I don't know.
They can.
Can? Okay.
Or you could decide to pay City of Columbia.
No.
or
We can't
something
do
else.
that.
No, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, any more discussion? All in favor of approval of the amount of $14,838 for the new well, do so with show of hands. And all opposed? And I'm just doing that because I've consistently voted against in that.
Oh, you're gonna-
I think we need it, and I think it's needed, but yeah.
When are you gonna start that?
I think he said it'd be about 10 days to 2 weeks before he could get back here.
Correct. Got a little more clearing to do over there also.
Right, because it's going down by the stage this time instead of up by the
Okay.
bathroom.
Next item on the agenda is the approval to amend the budget in the amount of $30,000 for the grand opening celebration of the new town park in conjunction with the 40th anniversary of Oak Strut. Is there approval to amend the budget?
So moved.
And is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Mr. Walker, I'll recognize you if you want.
Yeah. We just got a check for $1,000 from the chamber, and we thank y'all very much for that. And again, this is the 40th anniversary of the Oak Strut we're having, as well as the celebration of the grand opening of our new park. And we kind of wanted to have something that would commemorate this new park that's unique and something that's meaningful that will show the opening of this brand new park. I mean, we're spending $1 million on this construction, and I don't think just cutting a ribbon and opening the gates is sufficient. I'd like to do something a little more than that. We've heard from some people in the audience saying that that may be a little bit overkill, and you know, $30,000 might be a little on the high side, but still, we have to have a budget, so I just put a number out there. The $30,000 figure just came up in my head because I figured we needed some signage and we needed some permanent stuff that we put in place that we might get sponsors for, might not, I don't know, but that's the budget I would like to put forward to do this. Also, the 40th anniversary of Oak Strut is unique in itself. This is not the 10th anniversary of Oak Strut. The Oak Strut's been around for 40 years. And since we're trying to do it in a new park, we're trying to combine both of those activities. I wanted to make sure that we can sufficiently advertise the Oak Strut event, as well as sufficiently market the availability of new parks so we can do other things besides the Oak Strut in this new park. And it's going to cost some advertising money to do that. So that's where that figure came up from, and that's the amount that I was requesting to put in the budget.
Any comment? Any other questions?
I likewise would like to have a budget there to do some advertising. I know that some billboards, checking into the price of billboards, they're extremely expensive, but I think that that would hit the most people coming up and down the road. And I think that being the 40th anniversary of the Oak Strut and the park, we want people to know that it's there. We hear every few weeks that people come by and happen to see our park and say it's one of the best kept secrets in Irmo. And we don't want that to be the case with the new park. We don't want that to be the case with the one right across from Town Hall. But that requires some advertising to make the public know that it is there.
I think they need a budget. I think $30,000 is a lot of money. Would you be willing to negotiate on your figure?
Absolutely. Okay. I say $29,000.
Thanks. That's a big negotiation.
No,
we're still not out of the recession. You know, this 30,000 is an income for a lot of people. So I would hope you would negotiate some on the price. I understand we're going to need publicity, billboards, you know, whatever.
What about 20,000?
What about 15?
You make a motion.
Well, I was going to amend my motion if it was.
Okay, go ahead.
15 might be kind of light. And the reason why, I mean, really, the type of advertising we need to get done.
Are we talking about the state newspaper and Southern Living?
State newspaper is ridiculous.
Because we have been in Southern Living.
You need to up it if you're going to use state newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah, state newspaper is outrageous right now.
We're talking about radio, okay. Probably some TV spot, some billboards, the electronic billboards is coming into town.
Would 15 do it? I'm not trying to hamper y'all, it's just...
20 would do it.
No.
20 would do it.
You're not negotiating.
But it's all going for advertising, not anything else. I mean, is that the idea that it's all for advertising, or?
Well, I mean, whatever. Advertising, maybe if we have to spend some money on some kind of a commemorative ornate gift or something like that, or whatever. A rock or something, or
Where's Tiffany?
signage, you know, something dealing with the grand opening of the park.
You know, if it's a little bit needed to help bring a bigger band in that will draw a bigger crowd,
Well, that I agree with.
that, you know, it may be used for, some of it be used for that as well. And if you're bringing a bigger band in, you've got more advertising to do to promote that band. Or it's not doing you any good.
That's true, I just can't go for 30. Mr. Mayor, you can jump in.
Well, I mean, the only thing I would, boy, that thing's loud when I turn it on. It hums now. The only thing I would say is, you know, if it's going to be used for advertising, or if it's going to be used for a band or whatever, we don't really have, or I don't see a plan as far as how it's going to be spent, or, you know, whether it's 5,000 for this and 10,000 for that, or 2,000 for that. But, you know, all in all, you all know I'm probably going to vote against it anyhow, so that really doesn't matter. But if you want to make a motion for less, you can make it and see if it gets a second, or if it doesn't, you can go 5,000 up. Right now, let me just kind of say for sure so everybody understands, with 4 present, it still needs 3 to pass, so whatever you do, you need to get 3
This is going to be tough.
to agree. Because I'll be voting against it, so you want to get 3. You know.
So you going to vote against both?
Yeah, because I still don't think we need it, but that, you know, so
I think we do need a better band. Last year was fine, the year before, the talented people. If we had someone with some sort of name, I do
That's
think
one of
that...
the things they're looking at now. And Barry has been working with Kurt, with the Orchestra Commission, to try to come up with some of those, and they're evaluating some of that now. We have found that, you know, to get a bigger name, it takes bigger bucks. And some require a certain amount of advertising.
I just saw Gladys Knight a few weeks ago, see.
Last night was $25,000 for her to come.
It was worth it.
how many people were there?
The Coder Center was standing room
So
only.
that's the thing, that place won't hold the code. So if you get somebody humongous, we may be, creating a roadblock, whatever you call it. But
Well, I like to have that problem. To
I don't
tell
think
you
we're
the
going to be
truth.
glad.
well, if we were charging, how much you pay to get into Gladys Knight too?
$100.
Yeah, if we were charging $100, then I'd hope 5,000, 100 people show up. But if we're not, then
Everything in fire is $250,000. So.
Maybe we ought to charge everybody $1 to get in. That's another subject. Okay.
So did you want to make a motion
Yeah,
for a different amount
for half, for
or
50.
amend?
Yes. But if you go vote against it, they gonna vote against it, we're not,
Well, we're back to the 30, and then
okay.
you'd still be at the 30, or you
Well,
could change
Mr.
to
Walker,
20.
you said you would...
I was going to amend my ordinance. You don't have to go through all that. I'd be more than happy to
He
amend
told
it.
me to. I'd say I shouldn't listen to
Well,
him.
you want to
None
make
of
an
y'all.
amend to
I'd be more than happy to amend my motion to $20,000.
To 15?
No problem.
I would second that motion.
There you go, $20,000. We need the money for the band and for the advertising.
Mr. Mayor, if you amend the agenda, don't you need to give notice to the public?
No, not if we're amending. If we make an amendment to the agenda as far as adding a new item, we do. If we amend anything that's already on there, we don't, because you're just changing numbers and changing this. But if it's already on the agenda, then it's free for amendments. But if it's not on the agenda, then we can't, according to that lawsuit, whatever it is.
Can I
So right now, we
No, I
have,
made my amendment first.
Come on, Ken.
well,
15,000.
all right, so we'll start with Kathy. She's made an
Can
amendment
we use some of that money for the
15,000.
to 15,000.
What can we use some of the money for the radio?
Is there a second?
Or you go second mine?
Yeah, if you answer my question.
Well, for the second, I'll second yours.
Okay, thank you.
So now there's an amendment for 15,000. Any discussion on that? We already discussed. Y'all ready to vote?
Yeah, there's some money left over from the video poker machines when they were in town. Those legendary young poker machines.
It's probably
I think
spent
it was
by
about
now.
$4,000, wasn't it? Yeah, Nick Kitty.
That was a sweepstakes machine?
Sweepstakes
For the
machine,
bid, yeah.
No, we got $7,500.
Really? Well,
But it's in the general fund and it could be gone.
it's not the general fund. I thought you had a separate,
It's still general fund, it's still the money would be coming out of that for this.
well, there you go, I got $7,500 more dollars than I didn't have 5 minutes ago. So can we?
Well, we probably already spent that. On the well.
We certainly did.
So there's an amendment for 15, to amend it to 15,000. There's a first and a second. Now, we can vote. If it gets 3 votes, we still have to vote final because we just voted on the amendment. If it doesn't, then we're back to the 30,000 and we can go to the 20 or whatever. So we're ready to vote? All in favor of amending it to 15,000, do so with show of hands. And I'll do that 15, but, so it's 2 to 2. So that fails for lack of majority. Now we're back to the 30,000. Do you want to amend that?
We can use other funds from other places.
Should have voted for 15, then I'd let you have the 7,500 sweepstakes money.
See, that's why I asked you. You good, and you said no. What about the, I thought we had some money left in the liquor fund.
That's common.
Now-
But anyway, whatever is here, it's going to come out of the general fund.
It's gonna come out of
It's
the
not
general
out of an allocated fund because we don't have a quote
I do
allocated fund.
think y'all ought to consider $1 ahead when you get to that point. Just for,
I mean, that would probably
that's not in this motion, I'm just saying,
pay for a lot of stuff.
in the future, that would,
Again, for the grand opening, we weren't looking at trying to charge anybody. We want everybody to show up, to know the park exists. You know. Certainly,
Well-
in the future, I would agree with you, charging $1,
see, at some
$10,
point, we gotta break
$5
even or
whatever,
make money or
yeah.
whatever.
There will have to be some other, I don't know if this is the time to discuss it or not, but there would have to be some other issues explored in order to do that, in order to secure the perimeter, to have
Oh,
a
yeah.
gated entry.
Or do those wristbands again, or something
Yeah,
to that
that
effect.
type thing. There would have to be some method there to secure the entry.
I understand.
So are we ready to vote on the 30,000, or we want to amend that?
Mr. Walker was going to amend.
Yeah, I was going to amend it to 20.
So you want to amend to 20? That's still up in your second?
I'll
still?
second the amendment to 20.
So now we have amended to the amount of $20,000.
$5,000
That's too much money.
And again, we can vote on this, and if it passes, then we'll vote again. If it fails, then we're back to the 30.
It was 25.
No,
What do you suggest we get?
15 and find some other money.
Well, even if you do 15 and find some other money, you're still at 15 plus whatever money. So are we ready to vote on the 20,000? All in favor? All in favor, do so with show of hand. All opposed? So that fails 2-2. We're back to the 30,000, which we can vote on, or another amendment can be made. Anyone want to make another amendment?
17.5.
All right. 17.5. We do 17.5? 17,500.
So Mr. Walker makes to amend that to 17,500. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
It's still too much money, but I know you need some.
So all in favor of doing the 17,500 for the grand opening, do so with show of hands. And opposed? So 3-1, that passes.
We gotta make some-
17,500.
I think we will this year.
Let's see.
Thank you.
That was B.
You're welcome.
Next item is first reading of ordinance 1302 to...
But you have to make the-
question on the
Oh, yeah, I do, I'm sorry. Yeah, so now we're at 17,500 amended. So now we'll vote on the budget amendment in the amount of 17,500. All in favor, do so with show of hand. And all opposed. So the amendment was 3-1, and the thing was 3-1. Is that right, 3-1?
Yeah.
I'm off with...
And thank you very much for your vote of confidence. I'm sure that Mr. Glassmeyer won't be upset with us for not spending $30,000, but you certainly realize that this will be a worthy cause, making sure our park is done right. Our grand opening our park will be done right with a lesser band, a more better band.
I don't understand why the overstretch fund can't pay for that.
We ain't got no money.
Yeah, because they lose money every year if they won't admit that. That's
Next item is the first reading of ordinance 1302 to amend the town code, section 235, under acceptance of grants, contracts, donations, to add, if applicable, and the town administrator, following the phrase finance committee. And I will make a motion for that since I put it on the agenda. And is there a second?
There's a second, because I want to hear the whole thing.
So you made a second?
Yeah? Because I failed to look this up, and I'd like to know the whole paragraph.
You got it? Okay. Oh, God, I can't figure it out on this
I was
thing.
busy getting typographical errors out the minute.
And for the audience, basically what that says, remember correctly, or incorrectly, but under our procedures, what's it called? Acceptance of grants, contracts, and donations. It basically says in there that if someone wants to apply for a grant, contract, or donation, that it needs to go to the Budget and Finance Committee, which we technically really don't have, except for we are, as a whole, the Budget and Finance Committee. But I wanted to change that to say Budget and Finance Committee, if applicable, if we actually have one, or instead of or, but and the town administrator, so that Mr. Brown would be aware of anything as far as any grants, applications, grants, contracts, donations, then he would be made aware of those things.
So the main purpose is to make sure he knows.
To make sure he knows.
I got it, okay.
So you're saying that before we could accept anything, any type of donation for the town, we couldn't do that. We'd have to turn that down until we got his permission.
Basically, the way it says right now is you got to go to the Budget and Finance Committee, which we as a whole are the Budget and Finance. We don't really have, but I think it's, if you look at that, you're kind of like, well, we don't have one, what do we do? And I think if you clarify that by putting in there Budget and Finance Committee, if applicable, and the town administrator. So even if we do have one, the town administrator would still be made aware. And that might clear up something in the future.
So if we got a donation, we had to tell you. I can live with it.
Yeah. Or if somebody, not just a donation,
Or
but the other
council. I
thing.
mean, if council knows about it, council is the Budget and Finance Committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then what's the purpose? If council knows about it, and council as a whole is the Budget and Finance Committee, and a council member or a couple council members know about it, then it doesn't need to come to you to notify you anyway. It looks like to me that this is going back to the Veterans Park and issues around that when a grant was applied for and received,
Well, and that's
and we
partly,
didn't want to accept it.
that's partly where we I don't say erred in that time, but under that pretense, at that time, that should have came to the Budget and Finance Committee, which was the town council, and we would have been aware that had been done, or the town administrator. And I think it'd be better if it just went to the town administrator instead of to, quote, town council. As long as he's aware, then anybody that wants to know, he would know. And it's still left in there that the Budget and Finance Committee has to be made aware, but that didn't happen before. And I don't know if it didn't happen just because, was it clear?
I don't get it. I'm confused. I don't get it. Say it again. Say what you're saying again, please.
Well, see where that...
I'm reading it. It says,
prior to submission of any application for funding from a public-private entity, such as a grant, the Budget and Finance Committee shall be informed of such application.
Right, and that body is us.
Right now, that body's us because we don't have a budget and finance committee. But that didn't happen in the past. And I think part of it's because it was kind of confusing. When we don't have a budget and finance committee, who should we contact? Who should we tell? If we put in there a town administrator, then that kind of clarifies it forever that he should be made aware. And if he wants us to be aware, because we don't have a budget and finance. Even though we're committees as a whole, we still don't have a budget and finance. Technically, that should go to the budget and finance, and they should be making recommendations and saying yeah, nay, or whatever, which I don't know that we need to get involved in that. Because it would have to come to us and we'd have to discuss it. If we put in their town administrator, then he can be aware of it, and that's all.
I see that when I go to the Kiwanis Club and they want to give us a check, which they've already written, for proceeds from their Ochre Strut golf tournament, that we would have to say, indeed here we would have to say, I'm sorry, I can't accept that until I go back and inform the town administrator.
Not really, because I think what
yes, really, is the way you worded it, that's exactly it.
Right there, if somebody wants to give us money, we're not asking or applying for an application. We're not
But you
applying
put
for
the word donation in there.
Well, that's what's in the thing. If somebody wants to give us one, now if we're applying for a donation or a grant or whatever, then yes, the town council or Bob would have to be made aware. If somebody just wants to give us, then that's different. But I think it just clarifies that, so in the future, it may eliminate anything like that from happening again.
Well, I personally don't think what happened before was any problem with it, and I would welcome it happening again.
Well, the only thing, and we don't need to get into that, but based on the way it's worded right now, then that would have been improper, because we weren't made aware of it as a council budget finance committee. And I don't know that we.
Well, I think council deemed that it wasn't improper.
Yeah, the council.
And I see no reason to change it.
The council was informed.
Not until after the fact.
Oh, that's true. Maybe we should take out the word donations.
Well, again, if somebody wants to give us money, you take money.
Yeah.
But this says if you're applying for that stuff, not if somebody's giving it to us, if you're applying for it, then the administrator should be made aware of it. And that's cleaner and simpler than the Budget and Finance Committee, which we really don't have. I mean, I would even say take the Budget and Finance Committee out of it altogether and just put the town administrator, but so we need.
I'm confused as to what we're fixing, and maybe I'm just missing something.
I think he's trying to build another loophole, or
what's broke that we're fixing? Is that an unreasonable question to ask?
No, the ordinance about.
I mean, I don't see what's broke with this.
About grants and. It just.
And I'm sorry, I didn't read it. I didn't read that deep into it before the meeting, but I just didn't see.
Well, when we had this discussion months ago, or whenever it was, one of the things that came up was we need to look at how our policy was and fix it. And
the policy for what? For making
applications for grants and
grants,
whatever.
contract, and donations.
Well, I have a different opinion of that.
Okay.
I think that when we talked about it before, it was not that we needed to fix it, that it wasn't anything wrong with it, and we accepted it, and the statement was made, if you don't like it, try to change it. I personally liked it, so I made
I remember us discussing, and I remember us and Jake Moore and others discussing, we needed to look at that and clarify that so we wouldn't have confusion down the road. And we haven't done that since that time. I just happened to see that the other day looking for something else, and I thought, we need to clarify that by putting in the town administrator so that he would be made aware of anything, and then that would be the end of the story.
Yeah, but the budget committee, which is the council, was aware of it.
We weren't aware.
No, we weren't aware of it because we had, what do you call those things, FOIs for a while that we didn't know anything about.
Okay, but when he made application, that we knew that had happened after the application was made. Okay.
No, it was after we got the money, and I don't say weeks or whatever, but
No,
time frame after that.
I was told, maybe I was wrong then, maybe I was misled. I thought that I was told when they had made the application, that it had to be done right then, that quickly, and it was done right away. Now, maybe I was wrong, I don't know, but the bottom line is, the council, some members of the council was informed of it.
We were made aware by the town attorney that looked like we were going to get it now.
Right.
Right, but we didn't know we had
That's
applied,
making me aware of it.
but not that we had applied, that they had applied. And I think that's where the argument
Why do we
came
care if we
yesterday.
applied? I mean, who applied for it though? Maybe that's what I'm saying, is there a problem with the person applying for
Well, I
it
think
without
that a
us knowing
citizen
about it?
asked us, and Ed sends us an FOI request about something, and we don't know anything about it, and we say we don't know anything about it, and then we find out.
That's the appropriate answer.
That was the confusion. We should have. And basically at that time, even according to this, we should have. But we didn't. And if I read that in there, I would be just as confused as to, do we need to notify anybody or not? I think the simple clarification is to put the town administrator in there, and then everybody knows. Because we don't necessarily even have to have a budget finance committee if we don't do them as a whole. We don't have to have them. We can say we ain't even doing them, and then we haven't got one at all.
So, Mr. Moore, I need some help here.
Yes, sir.
The question I have for you, sir, is if somebody tells you that I have applied for something after they've already done it, does that not inform you that they made that action, or?
Sounds to me like that informs you that they have done what they say they've done unless they're lying.
Okay. So taking it for granted, taking it at face value that they are telling me the truth, and that if they're telling me that they have applied for something after the fact, then according to this ordinance, or according to this piece of ordinance, is that you have fulfilled the part where it says you had to let somebody from the Budget and Finance Committee, since we are the Budget and Finance Committee, know. They just informed me and they let me know. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
It says prior to submission. It doesn't say after the fact, it says prior to submission.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only thing they didn't do is before they submitted it, they didn't do it. But they did let me know after they did submit it.
But it says prior to submission, so it should have been done prior to.
Okay, but
And I'm not
even
talking about that
if
with anything down
but
the
even
road.
if they did it before, even if they did it after the fact, they didn't follow this to the letter. They didn't do it before. Okay, what harm has that person or the entity caused?
If the Budget and Finance Committee, which if we had one, that'd be up to them.
Right.
They may want to put input into it. If it's the town council who is acting as the budget, they may want to put into it. If we don't even have a Budget and Finance Committee, then
Okay, but what I'm saying
what
is,
do you do?
if they didn't inform us before they made application, and they did the application, and they did get the grant, it's up to us to either accept the grant or use it, right? It still is up to us to make that. Yes, we'll take the money, or no, we won't take the money, even though you got it for us, right? Is that not true? Or?
I don't know. I'm not getting into.
Well, Mr. Moore, is that not true? Is it if somebody makes an application to receive a grant and didn't tell the Finance Committee, Council, the Budget Committee that they did that, they receive the money and then say, okay, Council, I made an application and here's a check that I got for the grant I asked for. Now it's up to us to either accept that check or not accept that check.
That's correct.
It's still up to us, right?
That's right.
So what harm, what illegal harm, or what has this person done that would cause us, aggravation that would cause us not to, I don't know, either take the money or not take the money?
Hypothetically, let's say somebody applies for a grant, whether it's the Invest grant or any other things, or goes out and gets donations for the town, or signs a contract for some kind of whatnot that the town is not made aware of, or Mr. Brown is not made aware of.
Didn't say sign a contract, it says
Well,
made
it
an
does.
application.
It says acceptance of grants, contracts, and donations.
Okay.
And it says prior to submission of any of that stuff, then the town administrator basically should be made aware of that. Otherwise, you could have anybody applying for any grant whatsoever Maybe we want to take it, maybe we don't. It's
That's
kind of
fine, that's what I'm saying, that's good, isn't it?
I don't think it's
So
good
what?
business to let people, would you allow people in your restaurant answering the phone to apply for loans for your business? Probably not. You'd want to have a
It's
little
up
bit
to me
more.
to accept it, though. It's up to me to accept the check when it comes,
Well,
check when it comes,
It may
right?
be.
Isn't it? I mean, it's up to me to, they can apply all they want.
Unless-
I got people sending me checks all the time. Loans that I didn't, they send you a check in the mail. If you
Well,
cash this
but
check,
that's not them
you just got
applying
a
for it.
loan.
That's just somebody sticking it in the mail and sending it to you.
Well, that's true, but I didn't apply for it. I mean, somebody sent it to me, and they must be knew I was in need.
I think, and Jake, you tell me if it's wrong, anytime you do anything in the name of the town of Irmo, somebody ought to know it. If you represent yourself as a representative of the town, shouldn't somebody know it?
What you have are two competing policy issues, and the question becomes, which one do you want to follow? There's one school of thought that says anybody from the town ought to be able to ask for help financially from anybody at any time,
Yes.
as long as it's not committing town resources.
Yes.
The other one basically is, look, if we're acting in official capacity for applying for somebody to give us something, somebody in authority ought to be able to know that. If you were asking me for a compromise position, I think that any of your department heads, your public works, your police, or your administrator ought to be able to, without having to come to a vote of council taking for time, ought to be able to apply for legitimate grants for those departments, with the understanding that all grants received are subject to the ultimate approval of the town. I also would think it would be a good policy to have anytime anybody seeks a grant. Let's say Brian wanted to ask for one, Whitney wanted to ask for one. The town administrator ought to at least be told there should be something like, I have made, upon.
That's basically what this says, that he should be told and informed. Not, he's got to approve it, not that we got to approve it, it's just that he should be informed. That's all it says, shall be informed. And that takes us out of voting on it, because if he's informed on it, we don't need to get involved unless he thinks it's something that we need to get involved on.
I think it's a good idea for the town administrator to know as much as possible about what's going on in the town. If I ask for a grant for the court, or Mickey Epking asks for a grant for the court, certainly we ought to be required, I think, to tell the town administrator, hey, I've asked for this grant. I'm not certain that you want to require as a condition precedent to asking for a grant that you tell the town administrator that you've done it.
That's my point.
That's it, yeah.
That's
okay.
my point. You know, I don't think that, it's like you said, and just like the mayor just said, but he left out that little word, preceding. If you want to leave that out, then
So you're
it
saying-
means something entirely different.
You're saying take out prior to.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, in my short history, I would say that if the town administrator is not made aware of anything that the department heads who answer to him are applying for or asking for, it's just like at Invest. We have a unspoken, so to speak, understanding that we don't get them.
But we have to accept it when it's offered.
Yeah, if it's offered, if somebody offers it to us, we can turn it down.
That's right.
But this is basically saying that if we are doing the asking, then he should know about it, instead of the Budget and Finance Committee. They're still left on there, we can just take them off. Because I don't think it necessarily, even if we, after the next election, have to do the committees again, and we just say we ain't doing them. Now you got nobody on there. I mean, to me, it should have, I don't know why it was the Budget and Finance, it should have always been the town administrator, since he is the chief.
But I can see a scenario where any of the, maybe Ms. Stanley might see software or whatever.
At a conference and have an
Yeah,
opportunity
and
to
sign
fill
up
out
for
a
it.
form
That ought to
and
be
apply
her.
for a grant
She
or
ought to be
something.
able to do that.
Just just like the grant, and I don't mean to open the source up, it's just like the grant for the Veterans Park. You know, we just get called and said, if you want it, you gotta apply like now. It's gonna be at the end of the day. And, okay, you know, maybe I'm not even sure, I think, Bob, you knew we were doing it, didn't you? That we were making the application, don't leave it there.
And that issue came up, and that's the point I was making. And I think council as a whole, it wasn't 100%, council as a whole accepted that as an acceptable practice.
We were rolling, we were doing as we could with.
I look at this as trying to throw a wrench in the cogs to stop that in the future.
Well, it's not going to stop it, it's just going to clear, because right now, basically, you wouldn't be able to do.
We wouldn't have been able to make the grant without, if we couldn't have found,
Without going to the Budget and Finance Committee, you couldn't have done it without that.
Well, you're the one that fought the Budget and Finance Committee and all the other committees.
Right, because we don't have enough people to serve on that.
Doesn't require but two.
Well,
So,
two
Harvey, you
people
want to
aren't
take
much
out
of a
prior
committee if one
to?
don't show up.
Do what?
You want to take out prior to?
Yeah, I'll take out prior to.
If you're not going to do it prior to, then why would you do it at all?
That's my point.
So you want to get rid of this whole thing about grants and contracts and
No, I
all
don't.
that?
No, I don't want to get rid of the whole thing.
No, I think you might apply and then tell him as soon as you got back,
Right.
or copy him, which I do all day. I
I just think we need to clarify it up, and to me, the best way is just to have the town administrator be made aware of it, and then that's it. Even take out the Budget and Finance Committee altogether and just say the town administrator be made aware of it. Or prior to or shortly thereafter, or whatever.
Well, I have been in times when I have tried to negotiate for something for the town that I'm not going to discuss that with anybody else right then. The people I'm negotiating with do not want it discussed with anybody else at that point in time until they're ready to make a decision. Yes or no. If it's yes, okay. If it's no, they don't want it out there that they just decided not to.
Right.
So at that point, before I could even discuss that with them and try to come to some agreement, I'd have to get his permission or council's permission.
This doesn't say you got to get anybody's permission.
It says prior to.
It says prior to submission, he shall be informed, not get permission. It says shall be informed. And as far
But
as...
I'm not going to come and inform you and have somebody go and monkey it up.
And if you're
The
talking to
negotiation
somebody
I'm trying to do.
in a negotiation, that's not really a submission of application, that's negotiation talking.
Okay, I see your point.
That's just, I mean, two people talking and saying, hey, blah, blah, blah. Until there's an actual application, whatever that may entail. And I think mainly what they're talking about is not council members going out and raising funds. It's more talking about employees applying for whatever grants.
Well, I yield to
All that kind of stuff. And
I
even like
agree
the
that
chiefs, when
department
they
heads-
do theirs, we pretty much know about it through the budget process because they're always in there. All I know is when we had this conversation months, it ended at we needed to look at it and kind of resolve it and fix it. And this is the best way that I saw how of doing it is just adding his name or his title, town administrator, to that. And you could change that to prior to submission or shortly thereafter and get rid of Budget and Finance Committee too, because
Okay, I'd do that. Shortly thereafter, and get rid of the Budget and Finance Committee.
so prior
No,
to
that's not going to
So
work.
what is it?
Submission.
So what does that change then?
Wait a minute, I
What
don't,
does it change then?
because I can't remember what that says now.
I'm just writing something.
If I'm trying to negotiate with somebody for the park, being that's the topic, one of the big topics tonight. I'm trying to negotiate with somebody for the park. They've come to me and said that, hey, we might want to be a contributor. Now, prior to, I got to go start spilling my beans. Or then as soon after that, as I have that negotiation may take 6 months. It may take 8 months. And I'm going to say something now and be 5 months before time happens, they're going to walk away. Or somebody else is going to find out about it and going to go muddy the water, just like happened with the Veterans Park.
Okay, I see your point.
Under that same scenario that you're talking about now, which I disagree that you'd have to do that, because if you're talking to, say, someone about the new park as far as donating to cover the cost of the, say, picnic shelter, if they want to submit and pay for that, that's really not a grant that we're getting. They're just saying, we want to pay for
Donations.
Yeah, you're talking to them about that. But you haven't applied and we haven't applied. Or they haven't, all they're doing is talking and coming up with a figure, and then they decide they want to make that announcement. They make that announcement.
And I can do that fine with the way it's worded right now.
Well, right now you couldn't do it either without going to the Budget and Finance Committee.
Yes, I can.
Because that's what it says.
Just like WIT did with the Veterans Park.
But that wasn't brought to the Budget and Finance Committee.
It didn't have to be brought to the Budget and Finance Committee.
To this, it
We
would.
heard the whole thing right here in the council.
According to
The
this,
majority
it
of
would.
council felt like nothing was done wrong.
Well, maybe the majority of council did. It doesn't, but that
Well, the
doesn't
majority
say-
of council is one going to vote on this too.
Right, well, that's fine. I'm just saying, we tried to clarify this. This is my best opinion of doing that.
And I called the
We
question.
still have the same scenario left open for the same thing to happen. I don't think we need to leave that. And I think Jake Moore agreed today, we were sitting there talking, we ought to clarify this, fix it. If someone else wants to come up with something better, fine. But we're leaving the door open right now for it's still the same way, and unless it's brought to the Budget and Finance, then they shouldn't be applying for it. So, any other discussion?
No, sir.
Now ready to vote? All in favor of inserting the phrase, if applicable, and the town administrator into that sentence right there we're talking about, do so with show of hands? No, do so with show of hands. All opposed? And the measure fails.
If we need to change this, though, we ought to get together, like we planned on these workshops and things, if we do it.
Well, I mean, y'all can come up with something
And
and
actually-
put it on the agenda and let's fix it, but,
I think we could do it together. I do, I think we could.
so. Next item on the agenda is the D, first reading of 1303 to increase council salaries by $1,800 per year per member as recommended by the Archer Study to be effective January 1st, 2016. And I'll put that on the agenda. I'll make a motion for it. Second, we'll discuss it. If not, we can move on. But I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it because I got a question on it. I thought, I second.
Oh, you may go. The reason I put this on here is, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, we did the Archer study a couple 2 years ago. And for most part, we have put all that stuff into motion. I think we did a whole bunch of half of the people 1 year and kind of half the next.
Under it.
So everybody's under it. I think Bob had done a quasi little comparison thing, I think last month between multiple towns and came up with whatever that was, but I don't know if y'all have the old record that shows that, but let's see if I can find it. And they ran from anywhere from 8,000 for the mayor, 6 for the council, to looks like the lowest is 5,700 for the mayor and 45. But all those other places meet once a month. Irmo meets twice a month. And I know Bob has asked a couple times over the last couple of years during budget, do we want to do anything about that? And I felt like if we're going to discuss it, we ought to discuss it publicly, vote on it, vote it down, whatever we're going to do, and then make a decision and let him know. I also kind of felt like that over the years, I've heard multiple people comment that, I don't say they wouldn't run for office, but they would not get involved and do it because it's just, I don't say not worth their time, but that's the kind of gist of it. And that's something I've kind of felt like if it were not exorbitantly more, but if it was somewhat more, would that make it any more, I don't say attractive, but that's the word I'm going to use, for other people? And I don't want to say, run against us, but, I think one thing we need to look at is if people don't decide to run down the road because of time constraints in their business or whatever it may be and everything, and they put it all together and they go, it just ain't worth it, I'm not doing that. Are we hurting our town? Are we helping our town by, and I think they've not gone up in 20 years or something.
It's been a long time. The mayor went up like 8, maybe 9 years ago.
Okay.
Council members hadn't gone up.
And so that's why it's on there, so we can discuss it, hash it out, vote on it, put it down, and move on. And then Bob also knows for the future that this is a good issue or a bad issue or whatever. And I put on there the year 2016, January, so that it would be completely after any of us are up for re-election or decide to serve again or whatever. Not just, I think the law says you can't do it until after the next election. This will be 2 elections down the road, so it's beyond their whatever. We may benefit, we may not, depending on who decides to run again or not or whatever. But that would be taken kind of out of the context. So that's my
Well, that was my
2 cents.
question. Why is it had it on 2/16, 2016? I mean, it's
Just so it
when
moved.
it's stated after the next election,
Right.
which is in November,
Right.
it would take effect.
2016, that might be later. I mean, what we know.
Right,
Well, it may be, but if we haven't changed it in 20 years, I doubt we're going to change it in the next 10 or 15.
I think we need to add, if anything, add a line item or add an expense account into the budget for each one of the council members, as opposed to giving them more salary. I mean, yeah, I'm not here for the money. I'm not here for the profit that I make from the $3,500 a year that y'all pay for this. But I am here to serve the people of Irmo, and as long as it doesn't cost me money to do it. Now, I've been on council now for 10 years, and certainly 10 years ago when I first joined council, my cell bill was $50 a month. Now it's a couple $100 a month. And it's went up over the years. Now, I don't mind paying it because I'm still getting enough stipend to take care of that. But other things have gone up. Other expenses have gone up. People constantly ask me to be at this family reunion, come to church and visit them at their home, things like that, things that we do outside of this meeting here. I mean, those are things that we don't get compensated for, that I'd like to see us get compensated for. Well, in the form of an expense report or expense account. Not necessarily a salary, but a form of something we can turn in. And we do have that to a certain extent now. When we go to
we don't
Mass Municipal Association, I don't think anybody uses it. But, I don't know how much we have available to us, or if we don't have anything available.
Well, basically, right now, the way it's written is we can turn in any expenses we desire to turn in, and if I'm reading it and understanding it, then they get paid. There's no question, there's no vote, there's no whatever. Bob doesn't have to authorize it or sign off on it or agree to it or whatever. It just
What
gets
would
done.
you turn in? Paper?
Well, you'd have
Stationery?
you'd have to turn in something that said I drove here and I spent, I drove 10 miles and you get, I don't know, 55 cents or whatever it is or whatever the rate is.
You mean when we drive around town?
Basically, yes. I mean, that's what it says.
No.
Yeah, that's what it does say. I mean, it says
That's
that,
one example, I'm saying.
yeah. I mean, you could, whatever. I mean, there's no guidelines on that right now. You could turn in going to McDonald's and eating lunch and talking to somebody. I mean, you could, basically, according, because it said
We do that every day.
Yeah. But I'm saying you can turn it
That's a
in.
perk.
We just haven't done that. But the ordinance does allow it if council wanted to. I think we
Y'all
haven't.
turn in a bunch of stuff like that? I'm not signing a check.
We have done it in the, or we haven't done it in the past as far as council, but yeah, they could. Now, I think there was always, I don't want to say an unspoken rule, and Harvey might know better, because I think I remember the previous mayor saying that, if it was in town, riding around, you shouldn't do it. If it was, I don't want to say 50 miles away or something, to a convention or whatever, then yeah, you should turn it in. But, I don't know that anybody's ever
I think it's bad enough that they're paying for these municipal conferences and stuff. If you want to go, you ought to pay.
Well, I
But
don't know.
the town
There's a-
pays, well, the town pays, I think that's enough.
They pay for all the employees, and I don't think you ought to ask the employees to pay, and I think it's a benefit
No, not the
to...
employees, it's us.
Yeah, but I think there's benefit to going. There's a lot of educational
There
stuff that, would resolve a lot of issues too, I think.
I would love for us to have a retreat one day, and we all get together. and
We
go.
ought to.
But how can we do it? If I'm not willing to pay for it out of my pocket, we're not willing to sign an expensive
Well,
one.
the town could pay for where we're going, and we could bring the food.
Okay, but you're not willing to
We
sign
need
a
a doctor for the black eyes and the bruises, and
That's what I'm saying. Who's gonna pay for that?
I haven't got
You're not gonna
that.
sign the
But I do
contract?
think we need to do it, because
Well, and to me, if you do quote the salary as opposed to the expense, there's more, I would say, trouble in keeping up with the expenses. As far as, I went here, I went there, I went here, I went there, and, blah, blah, blah. And then you got the problem too, like you say. Well, Bob may sign off on it and give you the check, you may not sign it.
I'm not gonna sign it.
Then you got argument.
Then there's another part of the ethics form you gotta fill out. It
Yeah,
ain't
that's
working.
right.
I don't know that you have to cut out on that.
I'm just
because that's
looking
part of
at
the
these amounts.
Compensation.
Exactly.
8,400 is a fourth or
Because it's not
fifth
part
of a good
the
salary.
compensation. You don't know how much
It's a
That's the
benefit.
mayor's.
every year you would know.
Council is
But you
60.
don't
This is
know
too
until
much
it's out
money.
Next year, how much you,
Right here. If this is community service,
and you don't
then
have to file.
that's one thing.
Unless it's
If
$25.
it's politics, then money gets into it. And I don't think we need to do that. Money is the root of all evil. Somebody said that.
No, love of money.
Huh?
Not money, love
The
of money.
love of money. Okay, this is coming close here.
Is that what I get, $49
Yeah, that's what you get, and that's enough. I'm against this. In case y'all didn't know, I'm against it.
So any questions, any discussion?
I have no, I've always said it was public service.
If you start dealing with money, then it's not public service. Then it's politics. And we got enough of that too.
Yep.
So you ready to vote?
Yeah.
All in favor of first reading of 1303 to increase the council salary by $1,800 per year, do so with show of hand. All opposed? No. So that's,
I don't know what we're arguing about. Y'all all gonna vote no.
well, I think it,
Well,
I know now for 2 years.
The only reason
Yes.
I mentioned it is the council had approved and said we're adopting the whole Archer study last year, 18 months ago, and this was part of it. That's the only reason.
I think you needed
Get an
to
answer
do
on
that, to
this.
clear that water.
Yeah, and it's done, and
Right.
now we know for, I guess, 2
Thank you,
years.
Mr. Brown.
Whatever. Anyway, item E, am I right? Item E, discussion on changing the council agenda by adding discussion section after new business. And the reason I put that on there, I know we've had some talks, Bob has, and I have even in the past too, about discussions, because there's no way to, I would say, limit them to 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or whatever. One thing would be to change our agenda to have a place on there that says discussional items only. And then you have a place to discuss that, you set up some limits, and you do it that way. The other way is, I think, the town of Lexington they have 2 meetings a year, but one of them is a workshop meeting, and they just discuss stuff, kind of like our budget, they just discuss. They don't vote, well, I don't know that they don't vote, but they don't have stuff on the agenda to vote on. They go through that whole meeting and determine what's going to be on the next meeting, which is their action meeting. And then a lot of the discussion about, do we put this on the agenda, do we talk about it, do we do this, say the pay raise thing and all that, you discuss it during that meeting, and then if it's
That's a good idea.
if it's I would say enough head nodding up and down, then it goes on the agenda. If not, then it doesn't. Or if there's 2 people that agree we need to talk about this and vote on it, then they put it on there.
So it's part education.
Yeah, and it's more of a, you don't vote, you just discuss, an informal workshop. The problem with that too is their first meeting of the month is 3 hours long. Their second meeting is, I won't say an hour long, but, all the, and we can leave it like it is. I think, if you put stuff on the agenda and you have to have a motion and you have to have a second, then at least you know there's two people that want to discuss it and you discuss it. Under discussion, we could literally be there all night with nothing, even if we don't change it anyway. But I think if we're going to have time for that, and because we don't have the we call them the committee meetings, then that in time gives us the time to do that. Now, Richland County has a meeting before the meeting, and it's these committee meetings, and they discuss, and then if they determine that they need to put it on the agenda, they do. But they have guidelines on that meeting too. You know, you're limited in the time and yada, 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 which just doesn't debate that or discuss it. It just says, do we want to set up a special time for that? Do we want to leave it just like it is, and when they come up, or do we want to go to separate type meetings? And again, this is something that me and Bob's discussed, and I think we just need to kind of figure out what we want to do, and do we want to do anything? Do we want to leave it? Do we want to change it? Do we want to go to those separate type meetings? And that's why we got it here, so we can kind of discuss that and determine. I don't know if anybody wants to.
Well, I'm a bit confused because right after the election, you didn't want discussions on the agenda. And
well, I really don't, because I think they're hard to.
We tried to take it off, and it sounds like to me that if we're having this, then that's taking away, because you said 2 or more council persons wanted it on the agenda, it'd go on the agenda. Right now, all it takes is 1 to put it on the agenda.
Right.
And I would be totally opposed to anything that prohibited me from putting anything on the agenda that I wanted to be on the agenda.
Right.
At that point, we can vote it up, vote it down. If we want to have some discussion, we've had discussions all along, even though we said we didn't want them. But
I want them.
I mean, I think they're good because you get to discuss stuff without doing it on the iPads and
But I
all
want
that.
it to be even across the board. If you're going to have discussions, you're going to have discussions. If it's not on the agenda and you wanted to discuss something, then you can't discuss it because we didn't call it discussion on the agenda.
I understand that we just voted on about the grants. Not if you hadn't pointed out donation, I've glossed right over it, and that's important. So without a discussion, I wouldn't have known that because So I think we have to discuss things.
How many times have we? Well, maybe not everybody, but in representing the orchestra, that we go around and we ask for a donation from somebody, from a bank, from an insurance company, from another civic organization, or we attend a civic organization and they like what we had to say and they offer it. Happens all the time.
It does. Okay, so what's the option? Doing this or
leaving it like it is, and we just add discussion as we want to under, quote, new business, I guess it would be. Or you would just have unfinished business, new business, and then you'd have item, whatever that is, X, 10. You'd have 10 would be discussional items only.
Okay.
And then we'd either place stuff on there or not place stuff on there, kind of like we have presentation by citizens, executive, but you'd have a spot on there. Not that but right now, technically, new business is for stuff that we're voting on.
Yeah.
And we're not really supposed to be voting on, or we're not voting on stuff that shouldn't be on the agenda if we're not voting on it. New business and unfinished is for that. I just think we ought to clarify it and put discussional items on, and then we know that's just for that. We don't have to, but it would make it a little bit better. Because technically, new business is for stuff that we're going to take action on. And the discussions, you don't really take action on. I don't know that I care for the separate meetings because...
No, because that puts getting something on the agenda 30 days apart.
Yeah, and we had to change it from 3 to 2, so it doesn't take forever to pass something. But I know when me and Bob's talked before about putting stuff on it, it's kind of...
Is anybody that tight in this council that we can't have civil conversations between us if we want to get something done, if we want to get something
I don't
done.
think we can.
I mean, without going through a formal rigmarole of having to put it on the,
Well, if
agenda.
you're going
I mean,
to
it
discuss
seems like-
stuff, you should have it on there. To me, it's better to discuss it publicly than privately.
Oh, it is.
Okay, that's
iPad
fine,
or
but you're
whatever.
saying you don't want to put the discussions on the agenda.
No, I'm saying we shouldn't be doing it under new business.
Why not?
Because it's not new business. It's a discussion, it's not business.
It may be a discussion about whether or not to give me $30,000 for the orchestra.
Well, you'd
I
be
mean-
voting on that, that'd be new business, and that'd be an action item, because you'd be voting up and down. If you're going to have stuff on the agenda for discussion, you technically should have a spot for that, and not do it under new business, because you're,
So,
I guess what I'm saying, and please forgive me if I'm appearing to be too simplistic about this, but it seems to me that we're grown up people up here, that we can have a discourse between us on issues that we want to talk about, and put it under new business, say, hey, I want to discuss this item because it's something that came up in the community and I want to discuss it amongst council. Without having to go through a formal rigmarole, putting it on a discussion.
are you just talking about a different category to put it
just a
under?
different category, because
You can do it.
we've changed it in the past, and I think years ago we
Just
didn't
put it
do.
here. Put it under.
Okay, but we do it now, right
Take it out of
there.
new business and put it there.
We've
Okay.
done it, but, and I know in the past, I think I remember the mayor and Mr. Henson both saying you ain't supposed to be doing that, and you technically really not.
I know.
Well, if there's a new item, new business, or unfinished business, either one, and it's on there as an action item, it requires a motion, and it requires a second. And then what happens? Discussion.
Discussion.
But that's because two people have made a motion. If you do discussion, and if you do it correctly under new business, you would be asking for a motion in a second. If you didn't get it, you couldn't. That's why it's supposed to be, if it's under new business, you're supposed to be getting, you should be getting a motion. If it's, and that's why, like the counties down there does that separate category for that, so they know. We don't have to just go and be done with it. I know Bob's asked a couple times, I know we've been told before we shouldn't be doing it, and technically we shouldn't. So that was something else I wanted to put on there, so we could clarify that discussion.
So we could put unfinished business, new business, and discussion business.
Yeah, or I think the county calls it discussion items only, and that's
Okay.
just where you just, and then
That's all right.
we
What if
know.
the result of the discussion means we have an action item now, and put it on the agenda
You
next
have to put it
time?
on the agenda next time, just like we do now, because you can't, as you can't amend an agenda to add a new item.
So this is just a discussion, what we're
Yeah,
having.
'cause I know Bob's asked me a couple times when we, and I thought,
Yeah, discussion.
we need to discuss this, yeah, that's why I kind of delayed for a long time doing it, because but I felt like we need to go ahead and get this out of the way and decide how we want to do it. Leave it alone, change it, or do the
It's
separate
just a
meeting.
different category to discuss.
Right. And I won't say by law, but technically, once we're through with the new business, anybody in here wants to leave and not listen to us discuss something until 12 o'clock at midnight, could.
I would.
And you do all the action items first, and you do discussion items last, instead of doing discussion items first and action items last.
Being 12 o'clock midnight has been mentioned that we want to put a time limit on
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, we might.
And I think by doing it that way,
Leave the discussion.
That's right.
Yeah, you can, it's a poor thing.
yeah, and then they know you're
Okay, it's
past
not
the
a bad
thing.
idea. What do you think?
Well, it's going to take it
You have to do an ordinance, and you do.
we have to do an ordinance, it's going to take 3 readings.
3 readings.
And also we have time to think about it.
Good morning.
But all we can do tonight is instruct the town administrator to put this on the next
He can get
agenda.
good
as an
feelings
action
from us
item.
that, yeah or nay.
Okay.
So,
I didn't want to do an ordinance, that's accurate.
Right.
next item on the agenda is presentation by citizens, and this is the time that anybody wants to discuss anything with us, regardless of whether it's on the agenda or not. You may do so. Anyone who'd like like to discuss anything with us, all we ask is you give us the name and address for the record. Seeing none, next item is an executive session if needed. Is there a need for an executive session?
I believe there is.
Is there a motion?
There's a motion for executive session.
For, you have to give us a
Contractual.
And personnel.
let me write this down. So Kathy's made a motion for a contractual.
And the administrators and personnel.
Is there a personnel?
Personnel.
Is that right, personnel?
Personnel action.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor? We will go into executive session, and we will not be taking any action, and we will return and adjourn. We are out of executive session, and there was no vote taken, anything. So is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And a second is?
Second.
No.
Or just give it to Harvey. There, that'd be fine.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
We are adjourned.